right, welcome back. We are at the tail end of the program right now. Interesting editorial cartoon that has been drawn by Victor in the Daily Nation. A state of a nation, and you can see a man hard at work there. That is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and with his saw there, wood saw, is trying to cut the map of Kenya. And we can see also the Deputy President and the President walking away with those medals. This is the shareholder-only medal as it is. And this just brings to the fore the issue that we want to broach right now about the meeting today that will be at the Jaramogi Odinga Foundation. And we'll be there keeping our eyes peeled to also give you adequate information as it will be unveiling from the center there. But I want us to pick the brains of Dr. Makali and the issue of secession that we're talking about now. Has it really come to a cropper that we can actually even be broaching secession in this country? I think the last time we were talking about the Mombasa faction, it was the Republicans. Yeah.
You know, Nibao, maybe let me comment about, I don't know whether I should start with the issue of the shadow cabinet, which Honorable Senator was talking about. The truth of the matter is, ASMIO is meeting today. As a parliamentary group, we are meeting today. And this is normally what we do before we have a new session in Parliament. We are starting, we are resuming Parliament on Tuesday next week. And it's important that as a PG, we agree on how we are going to organize ourselves when we go back to Parliament on Tuesday. And it's obvious there are substantial things which need to be discussed in that meeting. One of them is the issue of the finance bill, which is coming. The truth of the matter is, as a coalition, we have alternatives to what is being proposed. But unlike in the earlier constitution where you could have shadow ministers, and where the House will allow shadow ministers also to present their proposals, with the new constitution that is not possible. What is happening now, everybody in Parliament is just given about 5 minutes or 10 minutes to debate. And what would happen is people would give a counter proposal as you debate during the second reading of the bill. But if it was possible in the earlier days, we'll find that our minority leader would now be coming a counter proposal to the finance bill, where you can be given about 1 hour or 2 hours to say what we think. But that is not possible with the new constitution. And even our standing orders will not allow him about 15 minutes to talk as a minority leader. But all said and done, all is not close. What will happen is, as a coalition, we'll be agreeing on what are the counter proposals. We'll be able to debate them in the House. We'll be able to propose them. It's whether Kenya Kwanza will take them up, that will depend on them. The other item we'll be discussing, the item of, you remember before we went on recess, there was the issue of the deputy minority whip. So the speaker did rule that as we remove whoever we want to remove, we need to come up with a replacement. So I'm sure that is likely to be discussed today. So that as we go back to the House on Tuesday, ASMIO will be saying who is going to be our deputy minority whip. And it's obvious Sabina Chege will be removed. That one, there's no debate about it. She will be leaving. Now, on the issue of what we call self-determination, where we want to say, I think the reason why you claim to be a member of a country is because you must have a sense of belonging, that you feel that you belong. Now, what is happening with this idea of shareholding and all, as the cartoon is doing, where you feel like if you are not a shareholder, you don't belong. What Kenyans are saying that there are those who are shareholding, like Honorable Maura and Senator Karwale, they are shareholders. Now, personally, if I'm not a shareholder, then what should stop me from forming my own company where I'm a shareholder? So we are saying if Kenya has become a company where we have shareholders and non-shareholders, let the shareholders remain with their company and the non-shareholders form their own company and run it the way they want. The thing is, all of us as Kenyans, we are paying taxes. All of us Kenyans, we are participating in national duties. All of us. So if the talk is about part of Kenya being not part of the government, because the taxes we are paying are the taxes we are discussing today, these are the taxes which are expected to develop Kenya as a country to the end. In a situation where we see that this issue of shareholding is being applied in terms of recruitment, national appointments, is being applied in terms of where development is supposed to go, then it means those who are not shareholding have a very good justification as to why they should form their own country and move on. And that's why, if this is now the case, then I really support 100% that it is time we divided Kenya into two countries so that we have Kenya United, and you know, we can have Kenya United Limited, which belongs to Maura and Senator Karwale, and we have Republic of Kenya, which belongs to those who are not shareholders in the Kenya Limited. And to me, that's a very good justification. That if we can't then unite the country, the best thing is to divide it and have one side going their own way, the other side going on their way. But that argument is informed by the fact that people feel like they don't belong. So if you look at our constitution, Kenya is supposed to be one country. And if you look at the same constitution, the presidency is supposed to be the symbol of national unity. Anytime you see the presidency in this country is the president and the deputy president. You remember during the interview, the TV interview, which was conducted the other day, the president was asked the question whether he supports the deputy president in terms of that statement about shareholding. And he said you can ask the deputy president. But the constitution talks about the presidency. It doesn't talk about the deputy and the president. So in a situation where you see in a script where the president and the deputy president seem to be not on the same page in terms of matters, national unity, then it is time we divided this country into two. And we move on. We collect our own taxes. We'll have our own national flag. We'll have all those things which are expected of our country. And then we move on. We'll have Kenya A and Kenya B. One limited, the other one for non-shareholding, and we move on. But if Kenyans we belong, then I think as a country we need one country. But it's a thing that's been sent out there, which people are saying we think enough is enough, and maybe it's time. We went out there and then started dividing this country into two. And that was the same argument. When the Republicans, you remember the Mombasa issue? Yeah. It was the same issue. The Mombasa Republicans, we don't belong, we don't feel like we belong to the country. So let's get our own small area and call it different. It's the same thing. It's a demonstration of people being frustrated to a level that that level of being patriotic to your country seems to have disappeared. And that we need to rebuild that. And we build that by ensuring that the so-called public trust. You know, the problem is that there's so much trust deficit to an extent that every Kenyan thinks I don't belong. So we need to rebuild that trust, that Kenyans feel we are Kenyans, and then there's this talk about secession will go a natural death. But currently, it's actually a very, very important topic, and is getting a bit of steam in terms of people discussing it.
Right, I can see
Maura is smiling, but that's the reality.
He's building up a case.
It's the reality. So we are saying as Azimio.
You need to hear all the sentiments.
As Azimio, and you saw it was saying in Azimio, don't be surprised you see people collecting signatures so that we take it to the UN.
Let me say this.
What is the UN?
You see the problem with Azimio? The problem of Azimio is as follows. The DNA of Jubilee was UDA. That is why when UDA left Jubilee, Jubilee collapsed. Now, the DNA of Azimio is Kuzimia. That is why they are now coming up with a suggestion of secession. And you can even see like Kenya is like a pie that needs to be cut into two, with Raila Odinga leading the whatever. Now, the talk about shares of this republic, that talk should not be blown out of proportion. And I believe that this is what the vice president was meaning when he talked about that kind of scenario. However, he said very clearly, and I defend him 100% when he said, taxation and development is for everyone. It's for everyone because we all pay taxes. But then when it comes to the sharing of government, that is why people have voted to go into government and others remain in the opposition. And I want to disagree with Dr. Makali Mulu today.
And so the jobs are for the loyalists?
No, the jobs are for those who voted for the government. You cannot have an Azimio loyalist being in government.
That's what I'm saying. The jobs that he was talking about are for the Kenya Kwanza loyalists.
Maybe the word is not loyalists, but supporters of the government. Maybe loyalists can be more closer home when you talk about Dr. Khalwale and myself. But when it comes to also other professionals who may not be in the forefront, but who supported the government agenda when it was, ganging up to be elected, that I think is very, very important. Number two, It's very interesting to hear Dr. Makali Mulu, who should be the Shadow Minister for Finance, for Azimio, saying that there is no shadow cabinet, Waziri Butu, as it used to be called in Kiswahili. You know, these are the same people who are telling us that they have no counter proposals on this bill.
No, we have.
And the bill, you actually correctly say
No,
there should be a
Makali,
counter.
you don't have any.
I said we have counter proposal.
Where is it?
They don't
We'll be
have
voting-
a-
Even if, where is the counter
You know, the
proposal?
thing is, we'll be doing it when we are debating in the House.
No.
I'm
We
telling
want
you,
to see.
we have
listed.
counter proposals. But the thing is, you know, Dubai, as I said
Why are you
earlier,
keeping it under wraps?
The thing is, you know what will happen in Dubai is, as I said, we are not the government. We are not the government. And I've said that many
Now,
times.
Debal, let me take
The thing
back my
is-
time.
Okay, you finish.
The,
Then we'll
the-
give
the
it
point
to.
is, if they had a counter proposal, other than just opposing for the sake of it, they would be telling us what is a counter proposal for taxing false beards, other than presenting us with the Wajakoya. As their Trojan horse in the presidential campaign, you know, I saw them now lining up in Kisumu receiving the Rishi Prize, you know. So the point I'm trying to say is this: we in Kenya Kwanza believe very strongly that these people did not even countenance that they were going to lose elections. So any kind of epithets that they are throwing at government about secession is only to maintain their relevance. And it's easy. I give it to them. That is very easy to shoot from the hip because people are no suffering. And as I back fully what Dr. Khalwale has said, we are dealing with a post-COVID recession. We are dealing with the dollar losing 60% of its purchasing power, you know. We are dealing with the issue of post-election recession also in a way because every time there's election, things slow down. It's not that they're picking up. Now, if you look at the newspapers today, somebody is saying we should be demonstrating every day. Is that what is going to create a new alternative to government? I don't think so. The only way is that they are building a case to share government. But President Ruto told them in Nyandarua, when Raila was seated there, that I know your end game, you know. But if the leader of official opposition, that is something that can be discussed. And the question would be, can it be resident in parliament so that the leader of minority can be Raila Odinga? Exactly. Will he be willing to debate with the likes of Ishongwa, who are his grandchildren? Or will he want to be outside parliament with a big office and leading from outside because of his age? Will that be good for democracy, or is it just because he's an elder statesman, if you can call him that way? Those are the issues we'll be discussing. But otherwise, I think honestly to say this, Dr. Khalwale, without of humility, some of it is also because people are idle. If they were more engaged, there would be less talk, you know. Look at those counties that are also making noise. Now the deputy of Siaya is being voted out. Can they first resolve those problems there? Can we see the economy of Siaya thriving to say that then because they are the ones, you know, leading that economy, that they are doing better? You know, the question that we are asking ourselves as Kenya Kwanza is honestly, and President Ruto did a memorandum to Parliament, we need a loyal and honest opposition that can actually challenge the status quo. But them, they seem to be too keen. In fact, I'm very shocked because the alliance of Azimio is basically old money. Yeah, it's about people who are benefited from state capture. It's about you know, trying to make sure that the son of a commoner cannot be seen to be excelling. The intimidation of a successful route of presidency is sending shivers down their spine, and they cannot countenance such a situation. I would want to tell them they are not going to win the hearts of Kenyans if we succeed, because we know what we want, and we know right now things are hard, and hard decisions have to be made, and I'm calling upon the true foot soldiers of Hustler Nation to rise up to this occasion, because we knew what we promised to Kenyans, and we must defend this government, the bar. We must defend it to the hill because we knew what we wanted, and we knew for sure it was not going to be easy. Even if Raila Odinga had become president, and thank God he never became, he would still have been facing this challenge. What he did, he lay low so that then he could protect the interests of Uhuru Kenyatta and the people around him and the billionaires, but he did not win in the presidency. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the bar, I don't think there is any agenda. We expect the same rhetoric that people are tired, Punda Mechoka, a narrative coming from Jaramogi Odinga Center. They are not even agreed on the venue as of last night. I don't know when they did agree on that, because these people have no agenda. They are still trying to smart out of their defeat. In fact, None other than Saita Boy Ole Kanchori is telling them, wake up and smell coffee. None other than Kabadwa has told them, please accept that you actually lost the election. Provide credible alternatives. We are ready to listen. But if you think that if you provided those alternatives, you are going to help Kenya Kwanza, for sure then you are not loyal, because any good idea that helps Kenya also helps your supporters.
Okay, Maura, they're waxing lyrical on the Kenya Kwanza.
I don't know whether I should... it's Carol. In terms of...
It's Carol's turn.
Let's allow Carol. It's his turn. My turn is coming.
Yeah.
I'll be able to respond to some of the issues.
I think the issue that my two brothers have spoken to is cessation, and whether there is justification for it.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you before you go to your comment,
yes.
Because there was a letter that we had Otiende really turning it down, calling for the Monday talks. First of all, did yesterday's talks happen, of the bipartisan talks?
No.
You were meant to meet yesterday? Were you meant to meet?
We invited them for the meeting.
You invited them for the meeting?
Yes, they did not come. And
Reason?
informally, it is because they were having their own meeting. So it made sense.
Oh, it made sense.
Yeah,
so it's not doing the issues that they had raised that needed to be to be taking cognizance of, because we have Otiende Amolo saying the letter by Tharaka MP George Muragara calling for Monday meetings was undiplomatic and does not foster any kind of engagement and negotiation. So it's not about a meeting but it was the letter that was undiplomatic.
Since he didn't share the letter with the media, I will not waste too much time there. I don't think 7 of us, adults, properly educated, elected, and experienced, can write that kind of letter for such an important exercise. So let it rest that all that Amolo was looking for is an excuse to justify an opportunity for them to fall back to their parliamentary group, which is coming today, for them to give them a briefing, and then they get fresh instructions. And we are glad that they are going to be doing that today when they already have the letter, and therefore we have set the issues that they would then possibly respond to.
So there will be a formal communication?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we are not fighting. It's dialogue. And where there is dialogue is a confession that the two sides don't agree. It is the dialogue which is intended to bring them together. So every time we are seen not to disagree, the more reason why there must be dialogue.
So we are worried because the days are ticking off the calendar, and we know since the pronouncement for the speaker of the vacant seat in Basani in Mandera County, there's no IBC constituted right now. The issue of the boundaries that has to be also tackled as well. Will that be a primary object on your table as far as this meeting is concerned?
Precisely. In fact, that's part of the reason why they are finding it difficult to come to the meeting before they consult. Because we have told them what is dividing us now is something we have called there in our language there now these days, we have called interim orders. Okay, that's what is dividing us. Otherwise, their issues and our issues, we have both sides have agreed that we must address those issues. The shared issue on both sides is the issue of IEBC. It is dangerous, very dangerous, for you to run a country without that commission. Not just because we already have wards and constituencies that are due for by-elections, but because the world being what it is, what would happen if it became necessary to have a presidential election? Because it can happen. And you don't have an IEBC. So we have agreed on both sides that the issue of IEBC is extremely urgent. So we are pushing that we start business, we tackle the problem of IEBC so that we get commissioners into office for it to start running. They are saying, no, before we go there, let us give interim orders to the selection panel to stop its work. And we are saying, fair enough. Even as it is, there isn't much that the selection panel is doing. They are hanging there waiting to see what will happen in our talks. So we are asking them, let us start, because even if we purport to give interim orders, we are not above the law. The bipartisan team cannot give orders that are the preserve of a court of law. One of the most popular things on Azimio's side is that open servers. You can only order for opening of a ballot box, scrutinizing votes, tallying votes through a court order. The bipartisan team is not a court of law that can actually give those orders. So we're saying, let us do that which is within our mandate. But they are saying, no, we must have these interim orders. I'm hoping that they'll be guided by their parliamentary group so that we come back and resume, we finish this, what I think is an important exercise, especially on IEBC.
I interrupted your thoughts. You wanted to say?
I wanted to say something on the issue of secession.
Yes.
In my profession, we have a condition called mania and hypomania. One of the easiest way a psychologist will see that somebody is now moving towards mania and hypomania is when they now exhibit. Is now when they exhibit what we call flight of ideas, or in other words, racing thoughts, rapidly changing. It is just a few months ago when Azimio were the proponents of saying building bridges initiative to bring Kenyans together so that Kenya is one indivisible entity, just the other day. And today the same guys, the ideas have rest. They have had flight of ideas. They are now saying, no, we should have our own little country. Because of the respect I have for doctor, nobody gets a PhD just like that. Because of the respect I have for the doctor, please, recollect your thoughts. Even that country you're going to form will have to run government. And to run government, you will have to collect taxes.
Obvious.
So, in that little country that you're going to have, where Baba will be, will be president, you will have to impose tax measures. How can you find it so difficult, PhD holder, to see that it is easier to collect more taxes from Kenya? It has got a broader tax base than the little republic that you're going to form. What's more? Why are you being retrogressive? No. Today, wait, be calm. Today, the East African community is doing public participation in the partner states because we are going towards political federation, because we have seen the benefits of a common market, where now we are doing business to 300 million people, if you include DRC. So because of the benefits of having a market of 300 million people instead of the 50 million people that we have, we are saying, let us consider the possibility of us even going into a political federation. And you guys, you want to create a small republic for Baba. Okay, granted, Baba will then make it. How then will Kalonzo ever become president in that little republic of Baba, which Baba wants to carve for himself? Anyway, be it as it may, Maura, that is an admission by Baba that he has realized that he can never win a national election in Kenya. So he needs to be given his fifth dome, a fifth dome where he'll be sure that he can win. In that flight of idea, they're even counting the Abaluya people. Abaluya people would never be in a new republic comprised of our noisy neighbors and ourselves, because it would mean in perpetuity our noisy neighbors would want to lay claim to the presidency at our expense.
Are you suffering from hypomania? First of all, you're suffering from hypomania.
I think what is happening, Senator Karwale, is I think let's say this, as he keeps on quoting from his profession, he needs to realize that
it will quote yours from the economy as well.
My PhD is in economics. And you are preaching to the converted in terms of integration and all that.
Thank you.
But let's not lose the context under which this issue of secession is coming up. The context is that the issue of shareholding. That's the context. So that we don't lose that fact. That the reason why we are saying there might be need for this is because Kenya as a country has been divided to two categories: shareholders and non-shareholders. If that is not there, nobody will be talking about what we are talking. So unless now we lose that context, then we can come to where Honorable Karare is discussing. But so long as that context is there, I think there is justification for what we are saying. So remove this context so that every Kenyan believes that, gets a feel of belonging, that I am in this country and I'm benefiting from all the benefits. But there's something I don't want to lose. The issue of whether we have counter proposal to the finance bill. And I think that's something we've been discussing over time. Anytime we come here, the thing is, we have even today we have discussed it. We are saying, instead of taxing Kenyans more, why don't you do the following? And you will still achieve the same result. First of all, let's deal with corruption. We have said it just in this table when Maura was talking. Second thing, let's widen the tax base so that we bring more Kenyans to the tax bracket. And so long as you tax more Kenyans...
But is this all this you're saying documented anywhere?
It is. Why is it not documented?
I've never seen that document
Let me
myself.
just continue.
So we can beam it to the public.
The other thing is also, you need also to improve tax administration. That the way we do our tax administration is an issue. Retaining VAT, don't move it to 16, retain it as 8, and let's get alternative ways of collecting the difference so that Kenyans don't, because immediately you touch VAT fuel, 8 to 16, is going to affect the whole economy. The issue of timing of the proposal, you have said, if it was Azimio in power today, I'm telling you there is no way we are going to implement these tax proposals this time. We'll have said, push this to next year so that this year we rebuild the economy and we build confidence of Kenyans. What is happening? Kenyans are hopeless today. They are not able to put food on the table. Instead of helping them get food to the table and then continue taxing them, you know, these guys are saying kill them today. And I like what Maura is another Shakaola issue. Kill them today. Then they can allow them to survive, and then you are there. Then the other thing is issue of, we are saying in terms of timing. Actually, from a very practical perspective, and as an economist, if I was today in Kenya Kwanza, I would be advising the president to see a way of how do you help Kenyans. Either good programs like Kasi Mtaani, so that you put money to pockets of Kenyans, and then you tax them. You'll have stabilized them, and then tax them. This is a matter they are dying. You are saying, die today, I don't need you tomorrow. Who are you going to tax tomorrow when they are dead? These are the issues. And these proposals, we have them about. It's not that we are not in government. We have no business presenting them everywhere, but we have them. The other day I said that it was a joke that one advantage Azimio has, there's a bit of, in terms of brain work, there's a bit of tyranny of brains in Azimio. So let these guys not underrate. We have a lot of brain work in Azimio. So we have a very serious counter proposal.
But it still there is hypomania.
No.
On a lighter note.
The thing is, all said and done. We all belong to this country, and we want this country governed well. And we've said many times, when Kenya is doing well, we all do well. When it's doing bad, even as they push the economy to the worst situation, we are going to suffer. You and me, who are not in Kenya Kwanza, I don't know where you belong, you are neutral, we still suffer.
Let the captain
we'll suffer the same consequences. So we are all helping them to do things better. But please, I would pray that as an economist now,
okay,
I would say the timing was some of the proposals.
All right. We have Honorable Raila Odinga saying that that Kenya Kwanza should listen. Let me just get that statement where he is speaking. He says, Kenya Kwanza has two options. Face and listen to Kenyans, or ignore them and face a battle never seen before in this country. You're not listening.
Debal, You know, first and
Kenya
foremost,
Kwanza is not listening. That's the issue.
well, first and foremost, I want to disabuse the notion that you are not neutral. You are very neutral.
No, he said I'm neutral.
No, I said that.
I'm just saying to buttress that by saying you are extremely neutral.
He's neutral.
Very neutral. Let me say this.
That sounded a bit sarcastic.
Every word, you know, I mean every word. And we've been doing this with you for many years. I can only vouch for you. Now, let me say this.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is that Raila Odinga has always been promising tsunamis and not earthquakes, such kind of momentous moments. Tectonic moments. The only challenge is very simple. Those moments have never led him to State House. Because that has been his quest. And so even this one, you see, and I'm not saying I'm saying there's a lot of humility. There is bound to be backlash when you have an unpopular decision that is, in the short term, painful, but long term, useful. When Kibaki was trying to push for free primary education, it looked unfathomable that it was going to happen. But today, many years down the line, it is still the policy, even if things may have changed because of cost of living. So let us not try to show that this is going to be a popular decision. The easiest thing to do is to tell people you are going to give them freebies. And that is the challenge. You know, in the handshake government, we were able to suppress this whole issue as a country because of subsidies. Now that they have been removed, of course, the pants are biting. People are hungry. I agree. But then we cannot keep on giving them, you know, painkillers just because there's too much pain. You know, I don't think that's a solution. If a doctor treats you, you curse them. But then the moment you heal, you say that go. You even recommend people to go to that doctor. I honestly don't think Raila Odinga has any agenda other than just to oppose the government. I don't think and you know, it's quite unfortunate when you do not have honest and candid conversations. I do not associate myself with the thinking that we should pass the bill as it is. That's why there is parliament, and we now have a bicameral parliament of both houses, which I've been privileged to serve. I think Dr. Khalwale has served, this is his 4th term, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So he's been 2 terms National Assembly, 2 terms Senate. So he has even a better view than myself. I've served 1 term each. And so there is wisdom in those houses, really. There is wisdom in those houses. And if, for example, as Emil is telling us, if you have the housing levy, reduce it from 3% to 2% in the first year, then that could be a counter proposal. But then saying doing away with it just because they think it's unpopular, who made it unpopular in the first place? The Kenyans who are paying these taxes are only 4.4 million, as per KRA records of this year. 4.4 million. The rest of 50 million Kenyans who are saying they are not going to pay housing levy don't even pay taxes. That's the unfortunate bit about it. But then these 4.4 million Kenyans, we are saying, can we incentivize them? If you pay 3%, your employer is going to pay 3%. Who are the majority of these employed by government? They're actually the government itself. So it's the government that is going to put more money to its own employees. So when you see union people, the leadership of unions were actually in Azimio. Let us not lie to each other. Which union supported us? Led by Atwoli, Francis. He was on the other side. So you can't tell us that these are our supporters who are rebelling. No. But it's very easy to tell Kenyans through social media, through whatever media, that they are being, if you are a Jua Kali person there, making doors and windows, you have not been paying, you don't pay any pay as you want to government. You have no pay slip. How is the housing levy going to affect you? But when we have a kitty that can produce employment, when you have a kitty that can generate the cost of housing to go down, like South Africa, where there are 3 levels of housing. There is a municipal, local government, there is the provincial government, and the national, and the RDP house scheme. You can, with 1 million shillings, you can get a 3-bedroom house. 1 million shillings. Kenya now, if you go to the mortgage market of 50,000, you cannot. And it's good to be honest to Kenyans, because the work of politicians is to break down this to people so they can understand. So yes. In the midterm, politics, usually governments lose. If you have where elections are staggered, like in America, in the midterm, the party that won the general election usually loses in the local government elections. So what Azimio is trying to do is to hasten this midterm feeling, closer to the day of elections. And I don't know whether it was out of being smart or really God intervened in this case, and I think so. They postponed their disaffection to 6 months. But they are now building that public catharsis by trying to show how things are bad. It's not because they are bad because William Ruto took over power. The thing is, usually the moment, even right now, any member of parliament, if they were to go back to elections right now, they would most likely be voted out. But come the general election, a good number will come back because they will, after the third year, when things are very low, then they start picking again. By the time they go to elections, they have already organized themselves, and then they win over power. So it's a psycho mentality. And yes, give it to Azimio. They know how to do it. They have been in this game for far too long. Who is the oldest politician in this country who has run for so many elections? Is Raila Odinga. Nobody can beat him to that game. So he knows how to destabilize governments. He knows how to play with the psyche of the masses. That is why you newspapers cannot sell any headline without him lurking at a corner somewhere. So it's not there's no magic here, Deval. And I buttress the fact that you are very neutral.
I take it with a pinch of salt. Let me just come to Boni Khalwale, because we've heard previously Mudavadi saying the problem with Kenyan politics is Raila. Do you hold with his view, or do you...
In politics, I've learned over these many years, there is nothing like the right opinion or the wrong opinion. That is the opinion of the right honorable, not the right honorable, of
the principal cabinet
secretary. Is entitled to his opinion. What I believe is that in politics, what you have is the other opinion. So respect the other opinion as you take your own stand. Raila cannot be the problem. The problem in Kenya is far too complex to be hit on one man. So because we are in the driving seat, we need to have a multifactorial approach to solving of the problems of this country. If there is a problem that is in the country because of the Raila doing, let us address it. If it is because of the post-corona economic recession, let us address it. If the problem is because of negative climate change, let us address it. If it is because of the war and conflict in Ukraine, let us address it. But to say it is one person, I would beg to disagree. Not because the prime cabinet secretary is wrong. Now, I want to request my brother. He quarreled with me because I was using medical terminology. This thing of saying shareholders, you know where it is coming from? What is happening right now is not that Kalonzo and Raila are dying for the Kambas and Luos for being kept out of government. No. They are applying for jobs. That is Raila's way of applying for a job. He applied it in Moi government, he got. In the same manner, Kibaki, he got. Same manner, he got. Uhuru's government, he got. So they are applying in that manner. In fact, he has taught Kalonzo the bad manners. Kalonzo said something very uncharacteristic a few weeks ago. He told Kambas that you should also be forceful like the other guys in the other community. Far from it. The truth is, Ruto's government is properly balanced. In that government, the lawyers who voted in their majority for Raila are in that cabinet. Mudavadi is there, Nakhumicha is there, Chigai is there, Ababu is there. 4. On his side, Malonza is there, Mutua is there. 2. On Raila's side, Owalo is there, and the others, you know them. I don't have to remember all of them offhand. So that is not the problem. The problem is these two guys are pushing for their own jobs as individuals. Give Raila a job today. Give Kalonzo a job today. You'll hear nothing. In fact, Agina Eugene Wamalo will start calling Raila. Raila will not take their calls. when you tell me that Mount Kenya is in Azimio because of Martha Karua, And because of Kioni, the ones I know, the ones I've worked with, the ones we've been on the same side with, and I know their capacity to look for votes. When Kioni was the running mate of Musalia Mudavadi in 2013, Musalia Mudavadi did not get any vote in Nyandarua. When Mother Karua was Raila's running mate, Raila was hammered properly at Mother's polling station, not to mention Kishugu, not to mention Mount Kenya as a region. So those are pretenders, Kioni and Mother. Young as Maura might be, he captures the imagination and aspirations of the people of Mount Kenya. That is why they voted where he was and not where Mother and Kioni were. Is a fat waste of time, completely to follow a name just because of the name you know. Even from the community I come, I have instances of people who walk in the name of votes for our community, and I know I have better clout than them. Not assumed, but demonstrated. I come from a county with 12 constituencies, 60 wards. 39 of those wards voted for Azimio. 10 out of 12 voted for Azimio. I was the only person who elected with massive majority. Why? Because I've got my own clout. If they were voting for parties, they would not have voted for UDA. So let us respect young and upcoming and alternative political players on the scene so that the country can move on. Finally, the issue of housing.
Right, before you come on to the issue of housing, just follow on it. I need to just run a commercial, then I'll circle back with you.
Okay.
We pay the bills. But that's our break. Don't go away much more. We hear about how housing